Quiet on the set. Here we go. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Hello, everybody. I'm Dear Myrtle, your friend in genealogy. Welcome to the GenDoc study group. We're studying Chapter 11, 11, I can say it, of Dr. Jones's Mastering Genealogical Documentation. And the title of the chapter is Answering the WhereIn and WhereIS citation questions for online sources. And it occurred to old Mert as we, as I looked at the chapter once again and went over the homework, that newbies tend to start with online sources. That's what they do after they're dealing with what they may have from their family. Starting with their own birth certificate, perhaps. And so it is mission critical that we review this type of work. What is it we're actually looking at? Why was it created? And did this exist off the net or only on the net? And this time we're talking about things that are on the net. And speaking of things, yes, Rez?
Yeah, there's one other thing that I think is important is where is it that I'm looking at? What am I looking at, and where am I looking at it now?
Yep, that's that WhereIn. I totally get it. And it could change. Hillary, did you tell us in the green room that you posted on one blog and then took it down and put it on another blog so you couldn't even find your post and you're the author?
Yeah, when I actually posted the original post, I posted it on Facebook, and Facebook came up with a reminder today to say that this is what you posted, one of these memory things. And
Yes.
I went to clicked on the thing, and it says it's no longer there because I knew what I'd done with it. I'd moved a lot of the family stuff over to a family blog.
Oh,
and
yeah.
off my main blog, and that's where it is now. But if people have got the name of the blog at least on there, so they could find it, but
Yeah.
it won't be on that blog.
The name of the post, yes. They could search name of the post plus Hillary Gadsby, and they would find it somewhere, provided you didn't also change the title of the post.
No, I just changed them over to another blog. I just copied them straight over with the same name, so they would find it with the blog post name.
Well, way cool. Well, I want to give a shout out to Anna. She's here today, Anna Matthews. She was mentioned in Randy Seaver's Best of the Genia blogs. And the panelists are the ones that spotted this. And so, Anna, kudos to you for being here and also for doing homework, basically. I just didn't know you did homework. This happened to be on Chapter 5, Capitalization, Italics, Punctuation, and Subtleties. She's got it so you cannot click and highlight anything in her blog. That's a mechanism that some people have. I figure I'm probably going to have copyright infringement no matter what. Interesting that you are going to also look at the Chicago Manual of Style. You've got a copy here. You've got the digital version of the Board for Certification of Genealogists, Genealogy Standards, which dissects the genealogical proof standard. There's Elizabeth Schoen Mills, Evidence Explained, and Mastering Genealogical Documentation. Now, I'm going to be indulging in some ageism here, Anna, and I wish that I had these tools available to me decades ago when I started out doing family history research, because we are able to study these works from the best minds of people in our vertical, as they call it. We're a vertical, Russ. Genealogy is a vertical in the business world. But anyway, let me give you that link so you can share it with everybody in the community, Russ. And good for you, Anna. All right, there we go. All right, so let me pull up the homework, and I need the scanned copy, which I just so nicely closed. Where's that link, Cousin Russ? I need the link. But we can start with the homework that Our Carrie
there.
has submitted. Okay, I can't scroll. Oh, there it is. Thank you. All right, there it is. It was on a different tab. So, as usual, old Mert was opinionated, and I want you to know that I put Carrie's homework first because the panelists noted that I don't always do that. Well, it's because she puts footnotes and adds a header and a footer, and I have to go about 12 extra steps to put her first. And as it is, I recommend just putting it last rather than to myself. I recommend it so that I don't have to go through all those extra steps. But in my notation,
I apologize for trying to protect my work.
No, it's okay. It's okay. Here's my thought. Those of you who are new and haven't seen what we do in our study groups, all of the homework gets submitted. Cousin Russ shares the links with me, so I'm not continually going in and out, in and out. I'm working on the schedule for 2018. And then I compile it all into one Word document, print it out, and then I go through with my pen and react to it all. So I really love these study groups, and you get the advantage of not only the video discussion, but any comments and you see the correlation and how different members of the panel react to the things that Dr. Jones says. So Carrie, let's talk about your homework first. You know, beginners tend to go to online sources and figure that's about it. But we're going to look at this document that you found over on Family Search. And you did a little bit of work about how to cite it so that I could get there if I wish to. So,
Right.
yeah, tell us about it.
I found it actually at the Family History Library when I was there in September.
Yes.
So, and then like many things, you find them online. I needed to clarify my citation, and it's like, oh, the film's viewable. Oh, what did you know? But that just something happens. And the huge takeaway for this, for me, was I'm always focusing on will books and whatnot for my probate records. Well, I kind of found some order books, and they are repetitive but different for some of the things.
Yeah,
so
they may be concerning the same case, but not in the will book, because the will book just has wills.
Right. It's basically like a data calendar of what happened in the court that day. So the entries are small, but sometimes they say more.
Totally get it. That's another thing that newbies are unaware of, and you're much more experienced, and you know they sometimes put things in all sorts of different books concerning one man's estate, and and then there are other situations where it's all loose papers, not bound books, and you're lucky if it's all in the same probate packet, as they call it. Yeah, so it can be challenging. So when you saw it in person, let me see if I can zoom in even more. I think I can do 250%. Let's try that. Okay. This is what you came up with initially. That when you saw it at the Family History Library.
Right.
You put the county, Kentucky, Casey County. Okay, and then order books.
Correct.
Is the title on the spine or the title you had to create?
Correct. It's the film title.
Okay, then the film number.
Correct.
And item number is important. Can you explain why?
There were two books or three actually in this film, 4, 5, and 6. So this was in book 5, so it's a second item. So some of the newer films in the past 10 years actually have divider slides that say the end and the beginning. So that's kind of a luck that you can see in the earlier films. Sometimes they're just page after page, so it's hard to differentiate.
Mm-hmm. All right, and in my notation, I would have just put estate of Sally Davenport and not put entry 4, but that's just me.
Right.
I would have also wondered who created it, which court did, and was it not evident from the film's description or the book itself on film?
County court.
Okay, so it was the county court order book, not a district court, not a criminal court, not a not the bankruptcy court.
Okay, would be a good thing.
I have a question, and since you highlighted the term entry for, I'm wondering, is it a record for or an entry for? And here's my thinking. I want to distinguish between an index and a record. If I have an index, and we're talking online, so if I have an index and I'm looking at an index, it's at a database, so I cite entry for that person. So I know that it's, and I've been very consistent about doing that, is that's an index. But if I put in the word record for, that means I've got an image. Even though part of my citation would say database or database and image, I distinguish between an index by using the term entry for versus a record for, because I'm looking at the record. It's just my observation and how I use those two terms. Valerie's wants to.
Well, but okay, in the context of, I totally love that you brought this up, Russ, because they're two different things. We happen to know this is the actual image of a document from that. What did you want to say, Valerie?
Well, I was saying in this case, you don't need to use and really in any citation, you don't really need to put entry for, because this is actually the order book. You said what it is, and that it's a county order book, and you've given the volume and page, and then you just say estate of Sally. You don't need those words that Tom says in the book that we don't need to use.
All right, but in Russ's example, he's looking at an index entry, not this actual record.
Right. If you're citing an index, then I agree that you could put index entry. Okay. And then the name.
I got a trick for it. Go ahead, Russ. I can tell you want to say something.
I would not put the word index in there, because the index is going to be in the title.
Yeah, right.
All right. So I would not put the index. That's one key for me. It says index in the title that I'm referring to, but it's a database, so I use the word entry for. Now I don't have a problem with dropping the word record for, but for my purposes, I distinguish that I'm looking at a record or have access to the record, or I'm looking at an index.
All right. All right. So I have another wrinkle to add to this. One of the items that I cited from an estate file, the probate packet, was a slip of paper that was signed by a woman for and in behalf of her husband. And the reason I was citing it was I had no proof that they were married other than an entry in the family Bible at that point in time. And this was documentary evidence presented to the court. The executor would not have allowed her to sign for that man's payout for the year. I mean, there were a bunch of these slips. Every year they gave some proceeds of the estate until the estate was totally settled. And so in that case, it was a receipt, and it was signed by somebody, and that by this woman. I can't remember her name. And her maiden name was Swanker, and she signed it Jane Swanker, whatever the husband's name was. And so I was getting a lot from that. So I didn't want to just say it was a slip of paper from so-and-so's estate. I said it was and I was detailed in my citation that it was a receipt for proceeds of the estate I've got to bring up that citation one of these days. It depends on what the purpose of your citation is too. It wasn't to just say, "Oh, I found a slip of paper in Charles, what's his name's estate." It was this woman's signature and what it meant in the context of, I have no marriage record, but apparently the executor and the family, etc., agree this is the wife. Yeah. Cousin Retch, you're holding up something there, and we'll get back to Carrie in 1 second.
Yeah, I'm looking at the quick sheet on it from this is the second version, the new version.
Yeah.
And where I picked up the word entry for is on this inside page for databases and indexes. That's where I picked up the word entry for. And I agree, the panel is having discussion about extra words, and I agree, but I was trying to model after the quick sheet.
Elizabeth Schoen Mills. Okay, which entry on the inside left? Database.
Yes, yep.
Okay, all right. Let's pull that up. Let's get the link for that from Amazon, if you wouldn't mind. All right, Carrie, back to you. Boy, we aren't even in through the first document view, and we're already going through all this stuff. How do you react to all this?
I think as a researcher and the author, sometimes we use words to clarify for our own means that don't mean anything to others, and I don't publish, so I'm fine with my way for my citations. But I understand that once they're exposed to others, you're always going to have edits, and I think that's great, and it takes a village, and I'm good with that.
I totally am good with that. Think of our Claudia Breland. And how she had to streamline her citation so that things could get in the National Genealogical Society quarterly. Okay, so first you saw it in the library on microfilm. There's your citation.
Right. And I wanted to show how different it would be for a non-online source and how it just continues to move.
Yeah.
And then this chapter pointed out 5 different versions of how you could maybe write an online citation, and there are good, better, best ways.
Yeah. So this is the one that you like, the first one?
That was mine prior to reading the chapter.
Okay. I love that you're doing this. So the elements are there, order books, online images. I would have used not use square brackets, but that's just me. I'm thinking square brackets are for what, Cherie?
Caught me snoozing for discursive notes.
Yeah, just parentheses. We would suffice. Okay, so we're going to remember Cherie. That's how I get things in my brain. I may have to call you up and ask you, what was that now, Cherie? All right, so the URL is general, and by searching in the for the film by number, then you get the images, etc. So this actually worked for you to use that citation and get to the image.
Correct.
All right.
And it ended up having waypoints that if anything should change, you'd have enough there to be able to use some Google searching to make it work.
Right. And previously, folks, we've talked about, do we have a responsibility to go in and change all our citations now that some films are online? We decided no, we don't. I agree with you, Melinda. I love that shaking head there. Okay. So there were pardon me? Yes.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I know what it means, but keep your screen up because you have the image numbers, but you used 2 numbers with a slash in between. Now I know what that. I'm going to guess that that's image 260 of 756. Now I had a conversation in the Evidence Explained forum, user forum with Elizabeth. She would not put them in there, but I do.
I do too. Yes.
In parentheses, but I spell out image 260 of 7, whatever the second number. Only that's for me, but also for you. And if that upper number changes, then I know something's been added to it.
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah. Well,
train of thinking as well.
You would also, if the upper number changed, you know something's been added to it. And it might be that image 260 is no longer image the image she looked at, because they could have added some in front of, from 0 to 200. They could have added 200 new images, which would make that then 460.
The ones that I've seen, and I've seen a couple, that's why I've focused on it. The database is added to the existing, not come earlier. That's just my experience. That first number has remained. It's the upper number that has changed.
It makes sense if what they're doing is they've got a database and they now can add a new year because it's a year later, and the right to privacy is covered by X number of years.
Yep.
But I've also seen it where, and this happens with newspaper images, where Ancestry will say they have images from these newspapers from 1880 to 1922, and it's spotty, and then they begin to fill in between. But for the initial distribution and selling point and the sizzle, it looks like they have this huge collection, and they just do it. And that's something that we've seen in comparing things with what's available, the same newspaper run at genealogical.com. Okay, did you have a comment you wanted to bring up, Russ?
Lisa had a comment.
Oh, Lisa. Go for it, Lisa.
About digital image.
We were having a discussion in the on the chat over here about whether we're going to use film numbers, the old film numbers versus the new digital film numbers. And I just noticed that the National Genealogical Society's quarterly is starting to use digital film numbers when they're found online.
Yeah, I wish they were the same, but they aren't.
No.
And again, that makes it challenging. That's why at Family Search, just go to the catalog. All right, so which one of these citations did you like best, Carrie, in your homework?
Option 5.
Okay, so let me find option 5. This is option 4. I'm going to skip. Oh, here's option 5.
So it's basically the same one. The problem with 3 and 4 is that the links were just too fragile for my comfort. They wouldn't even last for a year.
Yeah, that's pretty frustrating. So you gave the link to the catalog entry, and that makes it, let me just actually pull that up so we can see what we're talking about. A person would come along, click on the catalog. Let me change the camera. I clicked on her homework from the citation here. Well, I had it for a minute, and it pulled up this entry in the catalog. Searching and viewing historical records will require you to log in to, okay, that's new information. We've talked about this before. 13th of December, you'll have to log in. But that will just be an interim step if you're not already logged in. So then these are the original records from the courthouse. And then you would find, because of your citation, let's pull that one up. Nope, that's Melinda's homework. We are looking for a, we're in option 5. Okay, let's look at it.
Yeah. Film 591582.
Okay, 591582. Okay, so you're inserting this. So this is not a specific, this is not a complete URL. I mean a complete citation. You're just saying swap that out. So we have to look for 582 in that. Let's go back.
It's the second
okay,
one.
Look, they're showing their own digital. I hadn't seen this lately.
And that's just been added in the last 2 weeks, that column.
Yeah, totally. Okay, So there's 582. Okay, and then we would click to view the image. And then we would have to go to image, what was it?
260.
260.
So you bypass item 1 and 2. I mean, you bypass all that stuff.
Right.
And your white box is where your page is.
Yeah. Okay. 240, 260, 241. It took me to 240.
You're yeah, but the page numbers and the image numbers don't correlate.
Oh, that's right.
It's the second paragraph there. So that's why I put the entry for, because this book has really no titles. So you have to look for something, and the keywords would be Sarah Davenport.
All right. So it might have helped just from a newbie. Remember, I'm trying to think of it from a newbie's point of view. And I'm not tearing your work apart. We're just having a discussion to say, remember, probably could take out remember, say the image number and the page numbers within the book are not the same. Because did you see what happened to my mind?
Right.
I was looking at it from a total newbie point of view.
And actually,
but you're familiar with it.
Yes. And actually, option 5 here, this is actually my second to my worst citation. I don't know why I said that one. Because in the book, when he references this type of citation, it is my assumption that the last 4 digits were the film number, and that's not at all what it was. The last 4 digits have nothing, those last digits in the URL have nothing to do with the film number. They're just weird numbers that are assigned to the URL once you find the document.
Yeah. So you were thinking, yeah. So we can't just take what's in the up in the address bar and copy and paste that and put it there.
Well, that was one of his examples for option 5. The problem is that it's not enough breadcrumb trail, and he has no film number listed in the citation. So therefore, you're really limited, except for the title, finding the film again.
If Family Search does what Hillary did and moved the entire record set and put it in a different area. Oh, I like how that. Thank you, Hillary, for providing that example early on. Okay, I love it. So your takeaways for chapter 11 make perfect sense. And it is tricky that you went through a great deal of effort to drill down and figure out what would work for somebody and what would be the more stable URL to reference. And I agree that the catalog is helpful here.
So and the best practice is that to write your citation, and then from the citation only, find it again. And if you can't do that, you need to edit your citation.
You know, my friend Elsie sits on my shoulders when I'm writing up processes, because she's the one that says, now, wait a minute, I think you skipped a step because I can't follow it from here. And so she informs my best writing. I get it. Thank you so much, Carrie. That was great. We got plenty of time to discuss your homework. Thank you, Carrie, for your help. All right. So now we're on to Melinda. And I had a question. We got to talk about this last week in the green room.
Mm-hmm.
You browsed for the heck of it.
Yes, because I didn't want to specifically go in to Samuel Burgess. I have a bunch of family that lives in Orange, Texas, and they were all farmers. So I just wanted to look and see who was there. And so that's why I was browsing.
Yeah. Well, and the browsing puts his 12 tilled acres of land and 88 acres unimproved and how many cows and all that in the context of what the people in his neighborhood were also doing.
Correct.
Because, you know, I can remember the first time I saw a will, and it was a linen shirt and a belt buckle. And, you know, I'm like, gosh, that must have been pretty cool linen shirt, until I put it in the context of Conrad Weiser died in the mid 1700s. Excuse me. And even as late as 1890, giving a bride and groom a pair of scissors for a wedding present was considered a good thing.
Yeah.
Not a good luck sentimental thing. It was a useful tool that was valued. And I had no concept that a linen shirt would be that valuable in the mid 1700s. Okay, so tell us, we've got your document. It's the 1880. Oh, I'm glad you brought this up, that it's a non-population census schedule.
Right.
Newbies don't know that there's anything more than just a census enumeration of people. They don't know there could be a slave schedule or mortality schedule or agricultural schedule like this.
Or a 1890 substitute census.
Widows, it's the widows. Yeah, the soldiers and widows. Yeah, that was a special enumeration. It wasn't made as an 1890 census substitute. It was to see how many more pensioners do we still have on the books.
Yep.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, the other thing that was interesting is that these other schedules, and I don't know where I was doing this via the virtual practicum or something, I was reading about them, that they were enumerated at the time of the regular census.
Yes, they were.
And so that they changed the forms drastically on them to make them easier for the census takers to take it. And that's kind of why I picked this one, because it was the easiest one to see.
To work with, yeah.
Everybody to work with.
All right. So you came up with a bunch of different ways of looking at it as well. So which one did you, well, I definitely didn't like the publisher's citation.
No.
That was the first option Dr. Jones talks about. Let me pull up your homework. It's easier to highlight pages. And we'll go to view and zoom into 250%. Okay. All right. Sorry about that. Didn't like, I could go up to 500%. Interesting. We've now learned a new thing. All right. So here we are with your first citation. This was the citation that Ancestry provided.
Correct.
All right. And this would not distinguish if we had, if we had seen this at the National Archives, there'd be some hope of this being accurate. But it doesn't say anything about it being part of Ancestry.
Or, well, I added the source information because that is where it says it's part of Ancestry, but that's not part of the citation.
Right. And so a regular beginner would think, okay, it's Ancestry. And they've got the source citation. That's got to be the tip-top cream of the crop. And it ain't necessarily so. There's really two parts. This would have been okay if you actually went to the National Archives or one of its field branches, because they have the non-population schedules at every one of their branches that I know of on film. You would have gone to the drawer that was labeled T1137, and there would be quite a few drawers of it. And it would be probably the first drawer, and you'd pull out roll 36 and then put it on the reader and find page 4, line 1. But still, we would have put who it was concerning, wouldn't we?
Right.
All right. They didn't put it that it was concerning your ancestor.
Right.
And we would have put the name. Okay. I like the term fragile and stable.
Right.
Makes it so much easier to consider URLs because, yeah. All right.
Well, I like the fact that they're going to the digital ID numbers, like you showed in Carrie's homework at Family Search, because that is going to be what, to me personally, I would want to reference, because that should stay around in theory. Just like, well, for instance, when I'm doing Portal of Texas History, they have a digital archive number for each object. And that's permanent, and that's a way you can go back and find it at that location.
Yeah, it used to be that Ancestry would put all the images in a certain folder. Like we do, you know, like I have a folder for my player family names and my Wiser family names, any of their documents. I tend to sort by surname. And Ancestry used to run it that way, and then we got better at databasing our presentation of information on the web. And so then it's a digital ID that gets called up rather than telling the computer, go to this folder and then pull up a certain item within the folder. And from time to time, Ancestry would change where the folders were. Like it might have been, you know, U.S. federal census records population, and then they might have had a different folder just for the agricultural schedules. Well, then then let's just imagine what they decided to do was put them all together. In a new folder called U.S. Census Records, and that caused a problem in the past. So I do agree that these digital IDs are going to be sticky. They're going to remain. From a technical point of view at this point in time. But Cousin Russ, when Ancestry was first doing things and putting them in folders and subfolders, we hadn't figured out how to do this kind of data. I mean, blog posts are now in database format.
Right.
Cindy Cindy's list had to completely change how her website ran, and it's to make the website run more quickly. So because she started using the new database format rather than things being in folders. Okay, so this is a really problematic one. Use the URL based on, yeah, that would be what's in the title or in the address bar, and there you were in the browsing format.
Yep,
you can clearly see that. That is ridiculous, isn't it? Any little space becomes a percentage mark at sign, and yeah. So which one did you like?
I personally like the citing the underlying source first.
Yeah. Okay, so let's talk about it. Non-population schedule.
I just like the fact that that is telling somebody this is what I'm looking at, period, first and foremost. And then you go into where it's found. In some ways, I kind of even like to put that it was Samuel Burgess up in front of the,
yeah.
But I know that's not the correct format, but you know.
Well, it wouldn't upset me because I'm a little looser. I'm not so tight as Elizabeth and not so tight as Dr. Jones. I'm more toward Dr. Jones's way. In that I'm willing to put, but actually I can't say that way because Elizabeth understands it's adaptable and it's my citation. Right. Yes, there are certain guidelines as long as the elements are there. If you took a class from her, as long as the elements were there, she didn't worry so much about the order. But I do worry about keeping all the digital stuff together and putting, as you say, you would take out the word citing, and I put this page 4, line whatever, Samuel Burgess, up above as to what you were actually looking at versus where you were actually looking at.
Right. And that's once again, it's a style issue. And I think that's more of an APA versus Chicago manual style issue.
Yeah.
Also.
All right, Russ, you're trying to say something.
I have a question.
Yeah.
The order of elements of the citation in your example 6 or 5 is different than what I would do. And I'm just saying this.
Okay.
I would put Texas before Orange County because I'm going from largest to smallest. I'm starting at a non-population schedule. I'm going to the state of Texas. I'm going to the county of Orange, and I'm going to the agricultural schedule. And so the order of order of the elements makes sense to me, would be different than yours. That's all I will say. I go from largest to smallest, and I try to be very consistent about that. So if I had a population schedule, for example, the next element after Orange County would be the town name.
And that makes sense.
Okay, I have a question. This T1134, that publication group, does that include all non-population census schedules, you know, mortality schedule, agricultural, slave schedule, etc.?
I believe it's just the agricultural schedule.
All right, somebody go to NARA. Or, let's see, it's archives.gov. Because it would make a difference. You could then just create your own title for it. What does it say on the page again? Let's go back and look at the page. I'm scrolling over. Production of agriculture, Schedule 2.
Right.
So I think that I don't know. I think all the non-populations. I'm trying to avoid having to put schedule in a couple of times.
I don't think you're. I know when I was doing this that agricultural schedule was like needed to be differentiated in there.
Good. All right. But okay, so Rusty, I get the thing about Texas and then Orange County is smaller. Like the 1880 non-population census schedules is for the whole U.S. Then we're just drilling down to Texas, then Orange County, and then but I don't know, agricultural may come earlier, technically speaking, depending on if T1134 includes multiple types of schedules. And then Russ, would you put these page number stuff about Samuel Burgess?
Absolutely.
You'd put it up higher?
Yes.
Because it's what you're looking at versus where you looked at it.
Right.
Okay. Good example. Thank you.
I just put the record group 29.
Right after, so you'd move it and put it up here?
I just put the link in the blue chat.
Oh, okay. Thank you so much. All right. So, okay. So record group 29, clusters, electronics, selected categories, minority-owned businesses. Yeah, it's a huge record group. What is T? Look up T11. What was the other part of that citation?
T112.
Yeah, T1134. Look that up and see.
I've put something in our thing that I got from Ancestry about what's included in that database.
Okay, so tell us about that, Hillary.
It says it contains U.S. federal non-population schedules from 1850 to 1880 for the following states, and it lists a load of states, and then it says the non-population schedules contained in this database include agriculture, industry, manufacturers, social statistics, and supplemental schedules.
All right, so we need to put the agriculture first, or up in there before we get to Orange County, Texas.
Yeah, when I'm going at NARA and do T1134, it says it's the non-population census schedules for Texas, comma 1850 to 1880, 59.
Oh, so they threw the whole bunch in. Okay. Okay, so yeah, so this is interesting. That's how they sorted it. Okay, so we know. All right, so the only thing, so we changed the Texas part and put it up higher. And then specifying, and because Orange County was what we were talking about for that from 1850 to 1880. Then we put agricultural schedule. Maybe we put non-population schedule Orange County, Texas, 1880 agricultural.
No.
Because the whole group, T1134, is non-population schedules. But what then we're looking at specifically is the 1880 agricultural, not 1850, not 1860, right, not 1870, but 1880. Blah! That's a lot of work, isn't it? All right, but the elements were there. We would just do some slight rearranging. Then you wouldn't need the citing. It's yeah, okay. All right, let's move on. All right. Does this make everything crystal clear for everybody here? Okay. So that was good of me to leave this up. Let me close that page. Okay, let's bring up the next homework. Who's next on the docket? I think it is our Cherie. So Cherie, while I'm pulling up your homework, let's go ahead and have you talk to me about it. Tell me your example. Got a picture.
Yeah, I only, everyone else had already, by the time I got my homework submitted, it was like everyone else had examples of everything. So yeah. I kind of took the easy way out. This was a picture I found at Flickr Commons, and yeah. It's Flickr's like a what would you call it?
It's a public,
like a wiki common.
Yeah, it's a
a repository for pictures by user.
Okay, there you go. That's good. Perfect.
Okay.
And there, some of the images are copyright protected. Some are not. Some are like a commons, like wiki commons, that is free for everyone to use. But evidently, people upload groups or albums of photos, or yes, institutions do that. And this particular picture is downtown Sedalia in Pettis County, Missouri, and it was uploaded by the Missouri State Archives.
All right. So in your homework, you did an interesting thing. You listed all kinds of things about it. And let me pull it up.
This was what was like underneath the picture on the website. So I just...
Right. So when we get to your page, everybody close your eyes for a second. I'll scroll down to get there. There's a non-population schedule. What I did was I went through and I numbered the bulleted points, whether I thought they should be in a citation or not. And then I got to your citation and to see if you had all the elements there. And I decided not to include a couple of things. So talk to me about that.
Well, I don't think it didn't have an author, or the name of a photographer, or even the studio.
So it's unknown.
Correct. So, usually that would be named first. The author or the photographer would be named first in the citation.
Right.
No matter if you found it online or offline.
So so it's unknown who the author is. Do you think that should be part of the citation? What do you think, panel?
It could be.
You could.
I think maybe it depends on who you're writing the citation for.
If it was a photography today magazine, if there's such a thing as that, it would be photographer unknown.
Right.
And you'd want to put that in because they're very specific and down to f-stops and everything else when they cite an image. Now, we don't know an f-stop for this, or it wasn't that, it was probably from a glass, well, not a glass plate. I don't know what they did in 1890.
I don't know either. I'm photo challenged.
I am too. All right. But it makes sense. So so what happened with your notes? This URL works? The Flickr.
The one that's up there in blue is the same one that I used at the end of the citation.
Okay, because that's how it's filed and that's a unique number, and it isn't like you had a lot of breadcrumb trails you had to work through. So this is what you used. and it shows up right there. So I'm going to copy and paste just to experiment. And I'm going to pull up a browser. Let me get one and see if we can get there from here, which is a good test, as Carrie pointed out.
You know what I did too is I used the website TinEye to see if the photograph was anywhere else online, and they couldn't find it anywhere else.
Oh, I missed a W. Just a second. It's me. I didn't quite copy the whole thing. There's the image. Okay, so there's a place called TinEye. Tell me about that.
It's a website called TinEye, and you can upload a photo to it and ask it to find it anywhere else on the web. Now, I'm not sure that it checks every last single nook and cranny, but it'll, you know, thinking that maybe maybe the Missouri State Archives had the same image on their website.
Right.
And they didn't pull it up. I mean, they couldn't find it. So.
All right. So
they did find it, which was interesting. Was from eBay.
Seriously?
I think there was three entries from eBay that they said they found the image at.
All right, so this is something that's affected us in the world of genealogy. Yep, they've got it on eBay. So what people are doing, and this is part of why things get put behind paywalls or you have to log in now starting the 13th of December at Family Search, is people are downloading images and then putting them on CD, or in this case, making a photo image of that other image and selling it for money. That's absurd. Yeah. All right, so there's TinEye. Let me give you guys that link. I never heard of it before. So it's like a reverse telephone directory, but for photo images.
Right, yeah.
Okay, you learn something new every day. Wow. Okay, so
just the lazy way of not having to dig through the Missouri State Archives website to see if they had it in their digital collection online already.
Now,
but obviously they did not. They chose to use Flickr as their repository for some photos.
Yeah, and we tend to like Main Street captured images like this, so that we have like an ancestral view of what life was like in 1890, because half these buildings have been replaced by high rises, if the town's even there.
Right.
In this case, it is. But yeah, we certainly wouldn't be seeing horse-drawn carriages and buggies.
Well, what I was looking for was my third great grandfather. He was in the Civil War for exactly 1 week. He'd gotten run over by a team of mules on downtown Main Street. I guess a gunshot scared the team of mules, and it ran over him, and I mean broke quite a few bones, and he was pretty badly injured. But I was thinking, you know, I was trying to get an idea of maybe what downtown Sedalia looked like, and from what I've been able to tell is it hasn't changed much at all from, like, you know, from 1850 to 1890, except maybe some for cars and of course the electric streetcars and whatnot.
Yeah,
you can see the telephone pole right there too. Is it telephone or electric pole?
I think it would be electric.
Okay.
And it's funny, cities like Seattle had electric streetcars, then they covered them over and put buses, and now they put the electric streetcars back. So it's like, it's crazy. Okay, so that was a perfect reason to have this in your family history and to look up something for that time period. So I think your citation was reasonable. Let's get back to your homework here. I had pulled it up in this format so that we could get there. Yeah, the date you accessed it. And what about Main Street? What about giving it a title?
Well, I thought about maybe not so much a title, because it didn't have a real title. You know, it was kind of like it just came from the collection. What was it? The agricultural collection. I don't know why downtown would be in the agricultural collection, but I could have put in discursive notes. I could have put that little description about what the picture was about.
Yes.
You know, that they gave there.
Okay.
If it meant anything to the whole reason I was citing it to begin with, you know, that's something I guess that could have been added, but This was just a general citation, pretty much.
All right, so this is what you started with. And there's really no title.
No.
We need a title.
Okay.
So
Sedalia, Missouri.
how about this? You had part of it, the circa 1890. Downtown Sedalia.
Okay.
Let's see about this. The author of it, you're saying Sedalia, Missouri, circa 1890 is the title. All right, let's look at it this way. I'll do it this way. Push it down. Let's do it for photography today.
Okay.
Okay. Take the Missouri, give it a title. Sometimes we have to create a title. Missouri. And we'll say...
should we put the county also, or is the city just enough?
Well, let's look at your original. Let me
I don't think
scooch
I
over.
put the county.
No, I don't.
But in the description, if you scroll up a little bit or down a little bit, the one that I picked right there, it says Pettis County.
All right, let's see what they said. They just said Missouri. Right,
under coverage, it says United States, Missouri, Pettis, Sedalia.
All right, well, was it Pettis County in 1890?
Yes.
All right, well, then you might decide to add that. Okay, photographer unknown. And I don't know, or maybe it should be unknown photographer. Downtown Sedalia, circa. So that's the title of it. It's from the Department of Agriculture photograph collection at the Missouri State Archives, available from Flickr Commons, and then there's where you saw it. We use that link to get there, and there's your date of access. Okay, how do you feel about this citation, or am I just being crazy?
I think that works too.
How do we know if it's a photograph?
Because it says photograph collection.
Right, but I almost would have put that it's online images or something in.
Okay, they refer to it as something from a photographer or studio.
It says it's a photograph of downtown Sedalia, as opposed to me, when I think image, I think like a scanned image of a document versus, but that's just me, you know?
Yeah, but we did view it online. So they call it photograph. If they call it that, that's the title, not my title.
Right, and Flickr is a or a repository for photographs.
Okay. All right. Any more comments on this?
It's a place where you can get photographs. An online presence is not a repository, if I have learned from Elizabeth Schoen Mills.
So it should be from the digital image collection of the Department of Agriculture photographic collection?
Oh, I think it's fine the way it is.
All right.
But I was just correcting that my understanding is that a website's not a repository.
Yeah, we've had that discussion. Yes, good point. Okay, so very enlightening discussion. Thank you, Cherie. I appreciate it. Yeah, so we were trying to make it photography today. Is that the name of a magazine? It might be. I don't know.
I think it is. It is. But you know, I agree with you. We could put studio unknown, photographer unknown. I mean,
okay, studio photographer. Did they do photographer / studio or the other way around? Okay.
That's good.
All right. Okay. All right. Yeah, with these old things, sometimes it's hard, but there was no imprint on it. So thank you.
Flickr, I think Flickr, according to Lisa, Flickr Commons, and I agree with her, should be in italics.
Oh, I just closed it. Sorry.
Okay.
All right.
Thanks,
so
Lisa.
It's burned into my brain, Lisa.
Well, and here we wouldn't know that from what the description was. We'd have to, because they just say public domain. So you'd have to go and get the Flickr Commons and the link to it and embed that if you wanted to be really accurate and you're posting in a blog. So Lisa, you're up next. Let's look at your homework. Tell me what, you did another step-by-step and I just love it. How I ended up with a blank page, I don't know, but anyway. So you were taking an example of a waypoint citation. So do you want to walk me through these steps? How's our time? Ooh, our time's almost up.
Our time. Well, you kind of did it when you were doing carries, when you went to the image. And so this is just more spelled out. So it's, you know, it's written out for us instead of just viewed.
This is what Elsie would like, my friend Elsie, where it's got a, you're going to do this and then there's a screenshot, and then you're going to do that and there's a screenshot. Right. And that's how you got literally, this was a decision on the part of Family Search. Years ago, they asked us, would you rather, and when I say us, they mean the bloggers that came to Roots Tech. They said, we're thinking you might want the images even if they're not indexed. And we would try to give you some waypoints, like break it down by county. And so there's your Solano. Is that how you say that?
Yes, Solano.
Okay. And the next screen showed all of the various records you could browse through for just that county. So let's go there. So
this is just portion of it. It was a very large collection.
And we're so glad it's online. So there are declarations and petitions and all kinds of things. So you picked the one that covered the time period you were interested in. And then the first image was the film number, which is not the same as the digital collection number.
Right.
And good. Okay. Then did you do some browsing?
Yes.
You did some browsing, but we don't have to because you're telling us what to do, aren't you?
Yeah, usually before I browse, I go through the first 10 images because I want to see the front of the book and I want to see the target. What did they say about the filmers, you know, when they filmed it? What was all that information? So I want to record all of that first before I go browsing.
So not in this case, but in your experience, what have you seen in those few comments at the beginning by the film filmers? What kinds of comments?
Let's say who filmed it and what on the date that did it. And then usually they might have the next image might be the spine of the book.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then the next image might be the front of the book. And then as they open up the book, they take pictures. And there might be an index in the front that will help jump you further into the book.
Yeah. So you're really looking at a book, but it just happens to be on film. And it just happens to be on the internet. Okay, so here is the first screen. And we're those of us, you know, there are people that have never looked at a microfilm, never gone to a family history center to view a microfilm. So they're not aware. You put the roll on and then you can look at this. This is the opening shot. They'll usually say what kind of zoom they were, etc. And this is all typeset, and they take a picture of it. There's your spine. And there is the actual image. You went through the images until you found Arnold from Switzerland on page, it was on page 31, but it's image 39 because of those first
images.
Few. Yeah. All right. And they are important. Okay, now here's your citation. And here again is that comment. I had a comment too. Are we going to do something with a digital image?
Yeah.
So let me pull up your homework and we'll work on that. Okay. Lisa Gorell.
And actually, I probably wouldn't have written it this way if I did it on my own, but I was copying his number 5. or 6, whichever one was the waypoint one.
Mm-hmm.
Because I'm more like Melinda. I cite what I see first. So I would start with the book.
Yeah.
And the page numbers and who it is we're looking at. And then I would say I found it at Family Search.
Okay, so this is what you have based on what we've been studying from Dr. Jones.
Right.
Okay, but you would do it this way. Let's make these slightly bigger. So you would have put what?
Oh, I guess this is the best way for when you're doing waypoints, because you got to start at the beginning, and the beginning was this collection of California county naturalizations. That's the first thing you clicked on from the Family Search digital.
That's exactly the process you took.
Right.
You went to Family Search to that collection.
And then we went through, and so we have the waypoint showing exactly the order we went through.
Now, was his the actual? It says naturalization 1880, but there's the petition for naturalization. Remember, you told us there were intentions and all kinds of different naturalization forms.
I probably could have left out the word naturalization and just put the date.
Okay, and how about something more specific than 1880?
Yeah, you could. I don't know. I don't remember what it was.
I'm wondering if, well, the reason I'm thinking is, were these, in your experience, were they put in date order more or less?
Yes.
So if this were, November, it would be really super important that I have November there.
Yeah.
I don't know the date, but if it was, then you could just quickly click around till you got to the November entries.
Right. Or you just go to image 39.
Yeah. Well, and if they added images before that,
yeah,
then we have another issue. So what do you think, Russ? He's like wiggling in his chair. That usually means something.
No, I'm good.
Okay. All right. All right. So that's a good discussion to have. That the date might be better if we'd put the actual date that the document was signed.
Yeah. Did it have a page number?
I don't know. Let's go look at it again. Doesn't look like a page number, but I'm only looking at this portion of it.
Right.
Page 31, according to the actual image on the Family Search website, it's got 31 stamped on
31. So we could have added the page number.
Okay. Yeah. All right. So page number could be added, and we could put 19th July. It's a July date. Okay. Very cool. All right.
And then I think I did it again with not using the waypoints, didn't I? Nope, I picked a different image.
Yeah. So this is where you're citing the source first. And you're just experimenting with doing a citation that way, since this is one of the 6 ways Dr. Jones suggested we use.
Right.
So there's Clementine's entry as dressmaker, 1031 DeKalb Avenue. Okay. I love how you zoomed in. I wish that every presenter did this. How many times do you go to a class and they put the full page with just a little red thing around the tiny text in the background and say, well, I know you can't read this, but, well, if they know that, please zoom in. Takes 1 second and shows that, yes.
We need to talk about a comment that Sherry put into the unified chat a second.
Sure,
when we
go
get
ahead.
A chance. Well, what Cherie says is, but she's looking at a film, not a book. I put both. I put page 21, image something of something. So I put the page because I'm looking at the page. Yes, it's on a film or it's an image online, but I put that page number just like her next example, which is a city directory. I do the same thing. I put the page number of the city directory that the person is listed on, and I also put the image numbers
All right, so this is what you're looking for, is page 31, image 39.
Right.
Okay, is there a comma there? Probably. Digital image 39?
Yeah, yes. To
Okay.
be politically correct, yes.
Okay, and another space there. Okay, good. Thank you for bringing that in, Cherie.
I think the thing about Dr. Jones's waypoint is you're literally recording how you got there. And the page number is not part of that. It was that image number.
Yeah.
That's how you got there.
Well,
unless you use the index, you know, at the beginning of the book.
okay.
But his example was a box of probate
Loose
papers. You know,
papers.
they
Yeah,
were loose
papers.
papers.
Yeah.
And so there were no page numbers. It really is, you're going through until you find the image you want on,
Right.
and you're recording the image.
Okay.
Which makes more sense for something like that isn't, you know, structured.
Yeah. And then from this point of view, from a beginner's point of view, that having put page 31, which is I think what it was, and digital image 39, that clarifies that problem that I had when we looked at the previous homework, where I'm like, wait a minute, this is 240.
Right.
And so that makes it easier for beginners. Okay, and the waypoint is detailed here by that little greater than sign. Let me zoom in on that. Okay, you got that? You got that. It's pretty, I should do that sometime in the homework before I print it. Okay, let's get to your example where we're dealing with the entry for the dressmaker. Okay, the source you wanted to cite first. You're trying to follow along with his example. And this is your citation. Went to the Brooklyn General Directory, published in Brooklyn by George Uppington in 1900, page 709, Clementine Hork, digital image, and then in italics where you saw it, ancestry. And then there's the URL, accessed 19th November, and then image. And again, we don't know if this is one of those databases where later more years will be filled in advance, or more pages. In that newspaper example, they had, that I gave before, Ancestry had like the first page of a newspaper, and then the first page of the next issue, and the first page of the next issue. And then they subsequently filled in more pages from issue 1, from issue 2, from issue 3. And that definitely put the numbers of images off for somebody coming later. What were you going to say, Lisa?
Well, some of the city directories on Ancestry are missing pages, and maybe someday they'll find them.
Yes, that's another good reason. Yes. Yeah. Hazel has a good point. Would you bring in Hazel's comment for us, Russ?
I can't screen share. It's got to be.
Well, you were earlier. It worked. It stopped working.
No,
okay. All right. Yeah.
Read the page number. You may have to change to look a chance to look at the book at the library.
Yeah, that's interesting. Good point. We're just moving right along here. So, Russ, our inability to screen share seems to fade the longer we're in a Hangout.
Yeah, it was at 25 minutes this time. I was going to say something, but I've now forgotten.
Oh, I'm sorry. We're trying to.
No. I think that I know what I want to say. I put page number and images for just what we've talked about. But if I were to publish that in some magazine, which will never happen, I may have different rules, so I will take something out. But at least I can get back to where I found it And I know a couple of repositories around here that have those city directories, so the page number would be important to me. I'm looking at it online, I cite it, but I'm going to pick up that page number. So when I find that city directory, when I go to Trenton, then I know what page number I'm looking at. So, but if it's going to get published, then the publisher is going to change my rules. Or if I were to submit the question to Evidence Explain User Forum, I may get challenged about the use of image numbers.
I get it. At least in the forum, they can communicate with you. And at least in a publication, there's your byline and your email address so people can communicate with you. And it's easy for you to then respond because you can give them the page number and the image number. Way cool discussion. All righty. All right. Who's next? Hillary. Last but not least. Okay. I really related a lot to your first few items. And this relates back to what I put on the cover of our homework scan. It seems to me that beginners are not always aware of the civil law or the ecclesiastical laws in effect at the time. So why was that source created? Talk to me some more about the things that you consider when crafting a citation. And this is a great wrap up today.
You need to consider, is the only place you can find that actually on the web page? Is there somewhere else you can find it? Because if there is somewhere else you can find it, and that's where it's come from originally, you need to make sure that you include that in your citation. So that if somebody else comes along and it gets taken down off the web, if it's I mean, a lot of these websites have things on a license, and sometimes their license doesn't get renewed, and then it's no longer there. So if you can actually find that if you can get access to the actual archive where it's kept or whatever, then you need that information so that you can go and find the actual record.
That is the best argument in the world for saying we have to have the two parts, what you actually looked at and where you found it, and if it's so that we have that ability. That licensing happened with Percy, the periodical source index. For the longest time, Heritage Quest had it. Then Ancestry had it. Now FindMyPast.com has the license to have the periodical source index, which is a great resource for genealogists and historians. Okay, so back to your homework again, but I just love that comment you made. What format? Was it published, unpublished, microfilm, textual? Yeah. And textual really means unpublished. But it's a different phrase or different term that people may use. And so I stuck it in there. Is it a rehash? Also, the thing about if it was in a blog post and I'm really dotting all my I's and crossing all my T's and you have an image in a blog post, maybe you put a lot. Let's make this a positive. You didn't force or change a lettering. You didn't change a date. But let's say you had an image of an ancestral document that was in common, we had the same ancestor. But you had used a lot of arrows and green and red boxes and stuff because you were dissecting the document in your blog post and using it. And I wanted to have the original, and I couldn't contact you. That citation could let me know where the original exists so that I could get a copy of that original for my use. Good. Okay. So how did it go?
Right. So I briefly explained about the WhereIS, the fact that it's going to be the URL that we're going to cite. In other words, that's where it is on the internet. And then I just went through some of the various ways that we could cite things. As to, I've used the headings from the book because I thought it was the best way to go through it. First one was copying the online publisher's citation, which is one of the not recommended ways of doing it, because they sometimes sometimes the information is there on the website but not as an all in together. I've noticed that with the ones that I put, this was part of what they'd put on there. If I put two things together, I might have got a reasonable things.
Yeah, Melinda, wasn't that your homework where you said that? You showed us right on your first page of how they cited it, that what they called the citation and what they called the source information really should be combined.
Yes.
More or less, and we'd have a better citation.
Yes.
Okay, that's really important.
Yeah, so I gave a couple of examples there of the same page. One was ancestry, one was from the family search, just to show that you get different citations as well with the way they put these things together. Neither of them are necessarily going to be ideal, so you really need to understand what you're doing rather than just copy and paste from the website.
Right, and we're also not getting anything about which person we're looking at in the census. So it's too general.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay, so now we are adding the Stephen Buckle family. And then you put image number. And here's the link for the collection. Let's pull that up just for the heck of it. Okay, and then you would search for the buckle. Okay.
Search for the person, or you can go to
the okay. All right. I think I can. Let's see what happens there. I still don't have the answer yet. Of if I have an LDS account, can I view this? So let me do it and see. I'll log in.
It's a collection that is through Find My Past, and I actually viewed the image on Find My Past, but I know that that's the
Okay, so now it's Stephen Buckle, STEPHEN, BUCKLE.
Yeah.
All right, let's see if I can see it. Okay. I've logged in. I do have an LDS account. Is this the one?
That's the top one. That's the top one. Yeah.
Okay. Sure let's see if I can view the image. Image courtesy of Find My Past. Now I do have an LDS account with Find My Past. Ancestry I had to upgrade because I was hitting too many blank walls. So there's the entry. So you're saying you cannot view this?
I can't view it, but I have a Find My Past account of my own. So I have to, when I go to anything in Family Search that says Find My Past, I have to go to the Find My Past website to view it there.
Okay, so we have determined there is a category of images other than temple records that only LDS can see. A regular Family Search account login doesn't let you see this. It has to be because of the contractual arrangement with Find My Past. Yeah. And that had to be in compliance with what they had with the, is this from the National Archives? Is that where it's kept? The original?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. Man, I think the attorneys are the ones that benefit from all this, but I digress. Okay. So you are correct in that it's only viewable if you have an LDS account or you are at a family history center. Now, I was going to say, and some, but not all, of the affiliate libraries may have access to this. They haven't all got their ducks in a row yet.
Yeah, that's
or in your case, go to Find My Past.
Yeah, I quoted what they'd said on the website when I actually went to try and access it. So that's what they said, exactly what they said. So.
Oh, this is what they said exactly?
Yeah, you can, it's only as it.
Okay.
Well, they didn't say the images are only viewable courtesy of Find My Past. I don't think, but I think I may have added a little bit. But the first bit,
okay,
what they'd said.
All right, we all know we didn't like the URL-based citation because then it's too long and yeah.
Yeah.
And then search memorials was not too cool looking. This was a find a grave example.
Yeah.
The underlying source first, where we put that it's marriage register. Now, would we rearrange this, Cousin Russ? Would you have put the marriage register part first?
No, I would start at England and work
you
my
put
way
England,
down.
Lincolnshire, Bennington in Holland, which is the name of the town, right?
Yep. Largest, the way I think is largest to smallest. I'm walking my way there.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, we have to take a plane to England. Then we take the train to Lincolnshire. Then we take a taxi to Bennington in Holland. Okay, I get that.
Yeah.
Okay, and then your last way would be the publisher's waypoint, which we tend to like 6 a lot and 5 a lot. And as does Dr. Jones. So I think it was really fun to see each of you. Thank you, Hillary, for your homework. I think it was really fun seeing how each of you took it. Don't save, close all these things. Each of you tackled this with a smattering of, okay, if I did the citation using example number 2 or suggestion number 2 from Dr. Jones's book for citing it, doesn't quite work. And so, and with a variety of record groups that we're citing and documents, we've had quite a discussion today. All right, any takeaways for you, Hillary, on this?
It's just making sure that you include all the details in that citation that you really need to include. You know, you must make sure you include all the details about the original record and that so that you could find it again
offline. Yeah. We're citing, the chapter is about citing online source images, something we find online, and how to cite it so that there's an ability for us to find it offline. Okay. See, Carrie, I have to do the takeaways thing. That's what you taught me at the end by putting you at the end. So I appreciate you all. I really do. Cousin Russ, thanks for bringing in comments as long as you could. And thanks to everybody for making it over here. We will be doing the archive lady. She will be coming in tonight. And I don't know what kind of challenge she's going to have for us. But she's on the docket. Here is the link to the next Hangouts page. Let me give you that, Cousin Russ. It's the very bottom entry. You'll see that I've changed it and I'm moving the chapter 12 for the GenDoc study group on into our December schedule. I'll have to update the Genia webinars and the Dear Myrtle calendars to reflect that change. Yes, Russ?
I have a hint.
Yes?
And I just posted it in the unified chat. The topic will be documenting and preserving diaries, journals, and autograph books.
Thank you. Okay. Where can we continue our conversation, Russ?
I put the link in a couple minutes ago on the Dear Myrtle genealogy community on Google+, and the conversation will continue there. It's pinned at the top at the moment.
Okay, now I have a request, and this particularly goes to Deneen. Please make your responses in reply to a post, as opposed to a separately new post. Here's why. We want it in the context of this event. So here I've got the post that says, here's the link for the Chapter 11 discussion. That's where everything that was happening before and during the live, including all the links we mentioned, including TIN-I, is found. And then in response to this, make your comment. That way, anybody can see, okay, this is a continuation. I think I want to get to the first part of the discussion. Yeah, making a separate post is not working because it doesn't keep that response in the context. So just a thought, make it easier for people. There are many links to things over in Dear Myrtle's genealogy community. Remember to update your profile. We talked about that on Monday. So that your Google Plus profile says something about genealogy. Makes it easier. Okay, we're out of here, guys. This is a long session, but we got a lot done. I guess there's nothing left to say, but on behalf of Cousin Russ, I'm Dear Myrtle, your friend in genealogy. Happy family tree climbing, everybody. That's a wrap.